Probably one of the first podcasts I did with you when took over from Joe Andrews. Very fitting that one Patrick Janssen put up Droopy's plunge as his derby dog for 2025. And of course, the rest is history.
What a race. It had everything, you know. It had that little bit of trouble. It had a couple of dogs that started well, some that slightly missed it. The surprise potentially on the inside that's come through to win it because you just think...
He flew out of the boxes.
Yeah, he did.
And Daryl said it in these commentaries, got the break of his life, I think, along them terms.
I just remember thinking off the final bend, he's there and everybody else is there to be shot at in front of him, because I was thinking there's no dog that's quicker in a finish apart from Dala-Dee-Da, and Dala-Dee-Da's behind him.
What a final that is. Like, that is just brilliant, isn't it?
Amazing.
Also, it's nice for the UK to get the trophy back.
Welcome along to a special episode, I think, of Gone to the Dogs. I say episode, it's not really an episode, it's just me and Joe having a catch-up, because I think we finally come down after the derby. I certainly have. I mean, it was 6 weeks of crazy times, and quite frankly, sick to death of going up and down the motorway. Joe, I don't know about you, but I felt like I spent half my life just looking at signs for Northampton and Toaster on the motorway.
Yeah, you would have seen them same signs, Danny, from Manchester all the way. So you get to Wolverhampton, Birmingham, Coventry, then you get to Rugby, Northampton, and then you're finally there. But now it was just a brilliant 6 weeks, wasn't it? I, of course, weren't there for the second round, was away. You've done every single night. So fair play to you for holding the fort every night, and a brilliant job you done. I must say, I said that on the night as well, Danny, that, you know, be proud of what you've done. A small podcast turned into 10,000 people watching at once for the final, which is just an unbelievable achievement. It really is. And, you know, that's down to yourself and the brilliant people behind the scenes as well who have made it happen, who have done a great job. So, yeah, well done to you. Be extremely proud of what you've done, because what you've done with this podcast and the show is just monumental for the sport. I think everyone absolutely adores it. The Irish people have loved it. As they told us when every Irish person we bumped into at Toast, I think, told us how much they enjoyed it. So yeah, massive well done to you, massive well done to Toaster, my ground race in UK on what was a brilliant 6 weeks.
Well, I have to say, I couldn't have done it without you though either, to be fair, because it's, you know, this podcast doesn't exist just with me. I need the team behind me. You know, we've had a team called Globecast. We've had the guys that did the studio that literally threw it up within 3 days. So the first 3 rounds that we had, I mean, that studio wasn't there on the Sunday, and we were going live on the Thursday, and it was only just finalised, I think, on the Wednesday afternoon, because we were there for rehearsals and they were like still doing the decal at the back and making sure that the acrylics are fine and all that. And then we had to get the light, and then we had to get all that kind of stuff. So it was just, yeah, I mean, it was a monumental feat from start to finish, because as soon as we got the go ahead, it was like, let's crack on. And I think obviously we've had we even had, didn't we, plants on boxes. Having enough time. Eric took care of those. He's off for a while.
Oh, what's those? Oh, the plants have gone.
Because he just didn't like the decor, so he knocked them all over in one of the first shows. That was cracking, to be fair, when he was in part of the show. I want more dogs as part of the show, because I think Eric made it that night, and definitely livened up me and Daryl anyway on that evening. But, I mean, we always love the derby. I always used to say it was the time of the year that I used to kind of come alive on Twitter, and then I'd go back to sleep for the rest of the year, because no one really cared about what I tweeted about graded racing, because that's all I covered until the derby. So I was just like, well, what's the point? So I continued just every year, just for the 6 weeks of the derby, just tweeting about all sorts of random stuff. And then now obviously we tweet a lot more. We've got a lot of social media going. I think the social media side of things has absolutely gone through the roof. It's been phenomenal. I want to just give a few thank yous though. You know, Jason Barrisford, Daryl Williams, Hobbsy, Emily Wallace. We've had Gary Wiltshire, JK, and I think that's everyone, Joe. And you, of course.
All the people who have stepped in and helped. It was a who's who of the influencer world on final night when he was stepping in with his.
You weren't there?
Yeah, I was there just at the start and then went down with Big Gary. But yeah, that was a who's who, and thank you for their time as well to step in and help and make the show what it was. So obviously racing blogger, we had Chris Hughes on, which is just, when you think of the size and stature of someone for the sport, is massive. You know, Basher Watts. I'm not going to chuck Ryan in that category yet, back in my betting, but he's getting there. My brother Ryan Keneally. So he done a half-hour stint with yourself and was very good. I must say he was very good. Apart from just shaking side to side like he was dancing to two-step into a bit of Motown, he was very good.
We were having a great time. Also, don't forget Chappers, Matt Chapman. I think I gave him the most pleasant introduction he's ever had from a presenter of racing or any show. So trying to keep him sweet at the moment, Chappers. But no, he did a great job because he obviously had an impromptu commentary. Ian Fortune had our impromptu commentary as well. And Ashley Williams, I have to say, did a sterling job with our socials on finals night and other nights as well. But finals, he smashed it out of the park because he kept coming to me to say, oh, Chris Hughes, Matt Chapman wants to come on the show. Bash, and I was like, that's what it doesn't matter to me. So just superb. And then the atmosphere. I mean, I managed to watch the first 2 races, I think, on finals night, and I was like, oh my god, this atmosphere is unreal. I'd even taken a few people that have never been to the dogs before, and granted, they'd had a slightly
They had a few
pints, I would say, before they arrived, and most people would have seen me around them at some point and they would have known who they were because they're very, very loud people. But it was very fun because they want to do it all again next year already.
We want
to go to the dogs,
didn't we? We had Faye Point Harvey and Faye Point Susie, so Favour Backers got off to a good start. And, the roars went up for them too as well. The mother that we're going to come to later on in the show, Faye Point Susie. But we got off with 2 favours as well, which is always a good way for people to start the night, especially when they were much bigger in the day. So people probably took the prices that were available as well. And yeah, plenty of roars, Danny. It was very good and very fitting that probably one of the first podcasts I did with you when took over from Joe Andrews. Very fitting that one Patrick Janssen put up Droopy's Plunge as his derby dog for 2025. And of course, the rest is history.
Indeed it is. And someone just took his advice and the other person on this podcast didn't take his advice.
Not until the final draw. When the final draw came out, we took his advice then. But we didn't back him anti-pokes originally. And Patrick had probably admitted himself, Danny, that he probably wasn't reliable enough. And we've seen that odd stinker that he'd thrown in, at Toaster in the past in the Blue Ribbon and at Hove. And, he probably wasn't reliable enough to go 6 rounds, but he seemed to mature a hell of a lot from the middle of spring up until the Derby. He just matured a hell of a lot. We've seen that running the juvenile when he was second, of course, to Proper Heiress, catching Bocco's Diamond on that occasion for second. And then he just went from strength to strength, and he found ways to qualify, Danny, that he wouldn't have qualified in the past. So he has matured as a greyhound, and he was just a sensational winner. And he got the break of his life from the inside to manage to hold his pitch into that. It was just a brilliant race, and you could have probably made a case for all 6 dogs at some point in that final. Probably bar Solomio, who still only got beat 2 lengths in the end, but just a brilliant, brilliant final and a cracking winner, Droopy's Plunge.
It was. I mean, we will get to the final. We're going to have just to think back, about the Derby itself, because there were so many standouts for me throughout the nights and throughout the rounds and whatever. And I know in the first round for me, it was Faye Point Susie, because for a dog or a bitch even in the English Derby to win her first round for 3 years in a row is unbelievable. I mean, I said on the show, I think she's a working mum now, so she's got to show her kid what it's all about. And she was just like, Mum's on tour, because she's only got one puppy and she gets terrorized by him, I think, midnight. So she was like, get me on that van and let me stay over there for as long as possible. So she was phenomenal, I thought, in the first round. I really, really enjoyed watching her. And the other one was Tiffield Tarquin for me, because the story, the McCalls, I've got to mention Bill. Happy birthday, Bill, because I know you're 97 this month of June. I don't know the exact date because I don't think Hobbsy quite nailed that down, but it was one of the best interviews that I remember of the show. Do go back to the first round, the first night, because it was great. And he, I think they've waited a long time, and it was their Derby winner as well, Tiffield Tarquin, Joe.
Oh, absolutely. It was a brilliant training performance from Roy Peckle to get him as far as he did. And, he had a decent enough chance he found trouble on final night. But to get to the quarterfinal was, for a dog who had a bad injury as well, he was off the card a long time from August to March. And, even from there, they were just taking their time with him. They weren't doing too much with him and getting him ready for this. And, he was faultless for 2 rounds. He then qualified beyond Droopy's trade in round 3, got beat a length, and Hello Diego was in the race as well. Unfortunately, went out then behind Deladi Dar in the quarterfinal. But yeah, a great story. And when you see them interviews, Danny, it just warms your heart, doesn't it, a little bit? And you want him to go far. And imagine if he would have made the final, that would have just been absolutely out of this world. But yeah, not to be, and there are going to be bigger and better things for Tiffield Tarquin. He's very lightly raced, still lightly raced. So there's more to come from him, and a real champion for Roy. He's done a cracking job with him, getting him back to full health. And yeah, hopefully they can pick up a big competition with him.
Hopefully we're going to have him on the podcast as well, because I know Gail May's been working while we've been in the Derby. She's been getting me different guests for the podcast. So Roy Peckham has agreed and is on the list. So we'll have him on certainly in the next few weeks or so. We'll dive right into his career and see where Tiffield Tarquin's going next as well. Now in the second round, the bitch, again, I'm kind of girl power in the first 2. Sing along Molly, because what a run from her. That was just sensational, because the first round, you could see she was just learning. She'd never seen the track before. And then she went, that's how you run Toaster. The penny just dropped and she was unreal. Actually though, Joe, because I remember the first round as well, I think there was a surprise sectional, wasn't there? For you.
Yeah, Killiford Gordon out of absolutely nowhere rocked up with a 395 against Bocco's Diamond. We were expecting it from Bocco's Diamond, and then all of a sudden this black jacket comes out of track 4 and clocks a 395, 50 to 1 to win the race, Killiford Gorham. He made the Grand Prix final at Sunderland behind New Destiny, so his form was good and heading into this. And it's when you look at the race, Danny, he was then 7 1/4 lengths clear of third. He was beat a length in the end by Bocco's Diamond, but that sectional 395, that took us all back. I think he would have been 250, 300 to 1 fastest sectional. So I'm guessing he probably would have, if you backed him each way, you would have been collecting. I haven't seen the list of the top 6 for the sectionals, but we know Banlabola Joe won it with a 391. Bocco's Diamond was 393, weren't he? Fastest.
Yeah. And then there was a lot of 395s. Because I have a feeling Churchfield Sid did a 394.
Yeah, I think he did.
But
so hopefully you would have collected if you did. But I can't imagine anyone in the world has backed Killiford Gorham for the fastest sectional market. And if you have, please let me know what lottery numbers are going to be over this weekend, because that's an absolute insane bet. It wouldn't be on my mind for anything. So, and to be fair, he ran really well to Bocco's Diamond. He won a length, and he won a length Bocco's Diamond in the end. And, he was the story of the whole derby, weren't he? And we'll come through in a bit, the fastest ground on the planet that people have said. Just when we're saying that dog didn't quite take to Toaster and only got beat half a length in the final, it just probably shows you how fast of a ground he is and how special he actually is, Bocco's Diamond.
Weird. I know I'd said pretty much from day one, yes, obviously he is a superstar, but we're just going to have to wait and see if he takes the Toaster, because obviously he had the juvenile run and he was quite well beaten in there, and you just think, I just wasn't convinced. And I know that everybody in the Bocco's Diamond camp was saying, wasn't fit at that point, and I get that, fully get it. Proper ARS was, there's a couple of others that were, but he wasn't. So yes, he's been beaten by a couple of better dogs on the day. But then you look at his Derby campaign and you think, he is really not taken to Toaster at all. And I think 500 metres on at Toaster is as far as he wants. because when he's got a battle to get to the front, I think that's when he struggles a little bit. But one dog that definitely does run Toaster, and we've got to mention him in the first round, because I have been the champ, or the what is it, the cheerleader for the La-Di-Da all the way through the podcast of all the 6 weeks, and I've said there's no way he's not getting to the final, or I think he's going to go deep or whatever, and I've said it through the William Hill, said it through the podcast, said it on the show, I've said it to connections that we met at the Derby lunch, and the semi-finals, to be fair, and I've just said, look, he is a superstar, especially when in the first round, I mean, I can't believe we're still talking the first round because there were so many stellar performances, but that was the best, and it remains the best of the competition.
Yeah, fastest time, 28.50 he done in round 1. Probably took us all back a little bit, that run, and how he come away 3.95 sectional. But I've never seen a dog with the track craft that he's got at Toaster and find ways to win. He got beat 11 3/4 in the final, and he is the hard luck story in the final. He come out probably too well, and Solomio missed it slightly. That was always the worry, that Solomio then was going to roar up on his inside and move off and take him off. And, to be beat 11 3/4 in the end was just a brilliant run from him. He was a hard luck story. I don't know what connections are thinking now. They're on about the Dundalk, maybe. And there's talk. I've seen plenty of people that he would rattle the 600-yard clock at Shelbourne if he was to go over that kind of trip. Night of Stars, maybe. Later down the line. Or would you have another tilt at the Irish Derby? He's had hard luck stories there in the past. He's been very lightly raced again, though, Danny. Lightly campaigned, since last year to now, and that could just suit him. And maybe one more tilt, but the guys are brilliant. They were absolutely brilliant, weren't they? They're so funny. So really enjoyed the company. Win, lose, draw. They were complimentary of everyone. They were, the first people to go and say well done to is Pat and the guys, and Liam. You see Liam giving Pat a hug in the middle of the grass when Droopy's plunge won, and. Yeah, just great people, really, really good people. And it would have been, for ground racing, probably the best story for Delady going back to back. Or Bocco's Diamond, Irish and English. We haven't had that since Tom's the Best. So, that would have been the story. But there's still another big competition in this dog, I'm sure of it. It's just whether connections want to try it.
I agree, and I think that he could go for that this year because we've seen how strong he is. We've seen the track craft he's got, he's unbelievable. Joe just wanted to leave me for a bit in the sunshine of my palm tree.
I'm just turning my alarm off. I can just hear it beeping in the house, so I've just had to lean over and get my alarm. You want to see what my alarm is on? It's on a little mum teddy bear. There it is, that Remy got for Shan, and then my alarm's on here. So sorry, Danny, I've just had to press.
Schengen district. Taking that all the way to the Schengen district where you are now.
From where I am, yeah, as people can see, we're abroad at the minute, so I could hear my alarm from my house. So I've just had to. I've turned it off. Could you not hear it from where you were?
Relaxing on a beach.
Castaway.
Hi, Miami. No, to be fair, I've been in Rome this past 4 days because I was like, I need to stop. I need to stop looking at dogs, thinking about dogs, being anything around dogs. Obviously, I haven't stopped because I was looking at what the Coronation Cup was doing on Friday night. However, that's because I wrote the column. So it was a bit like, well, I kind of need to see what's going on because I can't not know until I get home because that's just the nature of the beast. There's always there in your mind when you're thinking, well, I'll just check Greyhound bet. It won't take me too long. And then you get sucked into the whole of what's going on. So the girls were like, put your phone away and stop looking at dogs. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't. I like it. Anyway, I did that in Prague, to be fair, because I was in Prague in the middle of the derby. And my mum literally went to me, she's like,
Had some trips in between this derby. You've done very well. You've gone in between, which is good. You have gone in between.
Yeah, because somebody missed the second round because they were playing golf badly. No, what?
It was brought forward 2 weeks, so I would have been okay, and that's why I give for it. Hobson was there.
highlight of my second round was the fact that both Hobbsy and Joe weren't there. And I had a very chilled couple of days. No, I'm joking. I did, to be fair, I'm JK, and we had the chat going. So if you are a subscriber to the Gone to the Dogs channel and we do a live show, we open the chat so that people can have a chat. And there's loads of people going down memory lane in there. And obviously you get the odd one that has a bit of a go or whatever, but it's all right. Kate's got a very quick delete button and she's very good. And she did a couple, but we on the whole had positive comments. And when JK took to the hot seat, because people haven't seen him for ages, they've heard him because he's about and he's in different places and he's got the podcast with Ian and different things like that. But because they've not really, had him sat talking like on Racing Post Greyhound TV Day, got a lot of positive feedback about having JK back in the studio, because what he's forgotten is probably more than we even know about Greyhound racing, to be fair, Joe.
Yeah, he would. He's very knowledgeable. He comes across well when he talks as well. He does come across well, and a lot of people will dislike him, people will like him, but that's the same with all of us, Danny. We work in an industry where people will hate the guts off us, people will love us. You got to be thick-skinned.
Watching this now going, oh, sure.
Yeah, you got to take it, haven't you? You've got to take it. It's part of life. And JK's the same. He's very knowledgeable, talks really well. You can listen to him talk about greyhounds. And of course, his dog, Kevin's Rocket, made it through behind Bocco's Diamond when he was on the show, didn't they?
Yeah, and that was, again, one of the highlights was we knew Bocco's Diamond had won. So me and TK in the studio weren't even bothered about watching him and seeing what he was doing. I was just like, come on, Kevin's Rocket. Come on, Kevin's Rocket. JK was getting very animated over in his seat as well. And that was the best one for us on that night. It was like, yeah, great, Bocco's Diamond, champion. But Kevin's Rocket is through, and we're through for another week with the Rocket. So yeah, that was one of the highlights of the second round for me. What was the highlight of the second round? Do you have anything at all, or?
No, the second round I was away and I was probably 84 mango daiquiris deep on the Friday.
Don't
Jesus. When I was watching them. I did set my alarm every 15 minutes in Port Banús just so I could watch each race. But I know, but I love it and I won't change it. So I think Bocco's Diamond trapping was good, and just seeing him go around in front and doing what we all knew he could do.
Yeah,
very special. There weren't too much second round that really stood out for me. I think when we got past the second round into the third round, Danny, that we had all the runners on one night, that's when it really started to warm up. I think it was a very special night, the third round, wasn't it?
was, and it's always the special round, because I think, the first two rounds, you've got a few people and dogs that are just taking a roll of the dice to see what happens. And if they get a Derby win or they get one qualified through to the second round, it's like, come on, I've had my Derby winner, even though I finished third, because it's, there are some shocks and there are some dogs that go through, some that go out. Obviously, Proper Heiress went out very early on, and we all championed Proper Heiress, I think, for going quite deep in the competition. And he, at the time, was our best UK challenger, really. And he went out very early, but I think he just got mullered, didn't he, in his heat. So it wasn't his fault. We'll see him again, obviously. But, the third round is when it starts to get serious. The Derby winner is in that pack of dogs that are running, or bitches that are running on that night. And who is it going to be? Well, we've obviously got to wait another 3 weeks to find that out. But it does start, I feel, to start becoming that little bit more laser focused with trainers, owners, connections. Generally, they're a bit like, oh, well, actually, we've made it now to the third round. There's only 3 more to go. We made it halfway. So let's see what we can do from here. And I think the energy changes.
I think it's that old cliche as well for third round. It does separate the men from the boys, doesn't it? And when you think of the 24 that we had left was just... And even when you think of the final, Danny, that all 6 of them were 33-1 or under. So, 6 probably the top 8 to 10 in the betting have made it to the final. And I'm going to give Toast a massive credit for that. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but any kind of final they have there, over 2 bends, 4 bends, 6 bends, any competition, 9 out of 10, the best dogs qualify. So and it allows dogs to come from off the pace. We've seen the winner of the Derby come from off the pace. We've seen dogs lead and win. We've seen dogs turn second and third. Droopy's Plunge turned fourth in that final and won the Derby. So it does allow the best dogs to qualify, Toaster. So, and the third round does separate the men from the boys, and we saw that again in the third round, and it was just a cracking night. And then, as you said, we're only 2 third place finishes away from the final after that. So that's when you just start dreaming, and then all of a sudden you think, God, we got a chance here. Just finish third again, and then we're there. And it's just, Droopy's Plunge managed to keep doing that.
Well, that's what this is going to say, because, it is the old adage of just got to qualify, and you hear it time and time again. Well, we're fine, we've qualified. And I think, I'd love to win races all the time. My bitch is just coming back out of season. She definitely doesn't run through a season, not in any way. She just doesn't want to. She had one run and she was like, "Are you kidding?" No. So she's just coming back now. She's trialing. She's doing all right. But you see these greyhounds, and I've completely lost my train of thought because I was just thinking, she did a trial the other day. That probably means she's going to get out this. My brain is gone. I don't know about you, but because I had to focus so much throughout 6 weeks of pure Derby, like I was doing other jobs in between. Everybody knows I do other random things in between. But my whole focus, my whole life, and I've been working Monday to basically Saturday night late, has been the Derby. And I've come back off the Derby and I've gone to pot. I ain't got a clue what's going on. I don't know what day it is most of the time. I texted you this morning and said, we're going to have to push it back because I got absolutely drowned walking the dog because the weather is horrendous. But drowned walking the dog, I mean, there was a cloud up here somewhere.
It's not big, though.
Oh, it's beautiful on the beach. It was just a cloud. It's gone that way, somewhere over here. But I was drowned, and then I was like, oh my God, I've got to record something and actually look like I'm not a drowned rat. So I said to you, I was like, I've got to push it back. I looked on my calendar and went, oh God, I've not actually got to work this afternoon. We need to just go from 12, Joe, because I can't do it. So I've gone to pot. I don't know what day it is, what time it is. I never know what's going on. Like, I am completely shot. And next year, I will be on a beach like this for about 2 weeks after the Derby because I can't cope with it all.
Do not blame you one bit. It's take a lot of your time, and look, we wouldn't change it for the world. We love what we do, and so blessed to work in a sport that I adore. I get to write about tips and bets and whatever else, and get to write about these dogs and get to talk about these dogs, which is just brilliant. Wake up every day and you pinch yourself, really, thinking this is your job and you're getting paid to do this is just a brilliant feeling. It really is. I manage a football team and working ground racing, 2 massive passions of mine. I managed to do all, for a living, which is just unbelievable. So it is tiring though, Dani, looking at cards and watching video after video for hours and hours, and it is no good for your eyes. You do feel tired at the end of it, don't you?
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah. I mean, I was doing notes after notes. So every single dog had to be researched, noted, and put a note next to it because I don't want to miss anybody. They are all there. Even in the first round, I made a note of every single greyhound that raced on the first round because we were doing the parades and we were doing all that. And you have to give every dog its day in the sun because you just don't know what happens in the Derby, And I'll mention him again because I'm going to have to. You look at Salad Dodger from years gone by. No one would have mentioned him. No one would have even said anything about him in the first 4 rounds, probably, because he just didn't win and he was just there and he kept being there and then he won it in the end. But he just kept being there. And it's a bit like, I was going to say, that was my train of thought. A bit like Droopy's Plunge this year. He won in the first round and then he just went and just kept ticking along. And then he won in the final round. Da was definitely the most unlucky dog in the final and most unlucky not to get second because then I'd have had the 1-2 anti-post. Not that I'm after timing in any way, but I would have had the 1-2 anti-post and he's been nutted by a short head by Bocco's Diamond, who I was just like, come on, because I was screaming literally on the show. Well, you'll hear it if you watch the Derby final show back. I was like, just literally going mental over the wall. I was on my own as well because there was no one else around. There was Kate who didn't really care. The cameraman didn't really care, Lucas either. And I was just like, Liam, sorry. I was like, and then it was like, Daryl had done the comms and I'm thinking, oh, Zibba. You can't breathe because, it's 6 weeks and it build up for 29 seconds. You're watching things for 29 seconds and it's all over.
Now we've got to wait another year for it. People say you lot are mad, but just be there, just go and watch it and experience. And I had my cousin who loves like a horse bet and football bet and whatever else, and he was watching the show during the competition, so he was getting into it, and then all of a sudden he's sending me texts and bets that he's going to have a little treble and roll up. I said, mate, just get to the final. Yeah. I texted him Monday at the draw. I said, have yourself a few quid on Droopy's plunge, 25-1. He's just got track one. I said, and get to the final. So we're part of a golf society. He pulled out of the golf society day on the 14th, and he come to the final. So if anyone's watching for the golf society, Jordan, that's why you weren't there, because he come to Toaster. But first ever ground meeting, absolutely loved it. Loved it. And then he's sending me a little double from Romford on Friday that he's now taking note of, and so that's just getting new people into it, and all the people that have said before, how do you like that? It's just watching animals run around the track. Well, no, you've got to go and experience it, and you've got to see that the love and the care that they get, and then how just pristine they are. They're athletes. They're absolute made of pure muscle, definition. They glide around a ground track, and it's not for everyone. But people within it, Dani, it's brilliant.
Glide round ground tracks all the time on the tractor. So I was going to say,
in fact, you do off about 400 metre head start in a handicap.
Hey,
yeah,
I didn't sort the handicap out.
The hammy went this year, though. The hammy went this year.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to run anymore. Although the boys were trying to race each other on Derby final night. They were like, can we race each other? No, that's happened in the past. Not now. No. All right, we'll just do it from the podium up to the water bit. Yes, okay, fine. We're allowed in that bit, so you're all right. Like, hilarious. But we talked about all the highs, of course, of the Derby. And I think we did have a couple of lows because Savannah Ginger had an injury on semi-finals night, and then so did Dynamic Force. Now, we know that he's fine now, but because it was the last race of the night, it's not that we didn't care who won that semi, but it was more, oh my God, is he okay? That was our first thought, and we both said it. And I get a bit, he's fine. And I'm still a bit like, oh my God, now, because I hate that part of the sport is the bit that is just horrific, and I just don't like it. I don't like the fact they get injured, but it happens. You have to take it. And he is absolutely fine. He's off to stud and he's going to have a whale of a time doing what he likes with all the bitches. But that for me is always like, it just put a complete downer on the night, really, because you just think, is he okay? I know Polly the vet, as Ben Keith said in his Derby lunch speech, her surname is the vet. It is, of course, Polly, because nobody knows what her surname is. I haven't interviewed her on the podcast, and I would not be able to tell you what her surname is. Just Polly the vet, because I think that's what I did the podcast for as well. But that's what everybody, that's how she's known across the Greyhound world. And she had her little ambulance that she went, picked him up, and he's absolutely fine. But it does put, you've got heart in your mouth.
Yeah, it was a really somber mood, wasn't it, after in the studio, Dani, and because you gutted for the dog, you gutted for Connections. We spoke to Connections quite closely, who were in the restaurant of Dynamic Force, and three of the loveliest people you could wish to meet. They really were. So to see all that, and the travelling and the miles that the people clock up, and Paul and Susan are a brilliant team. For that to happen at that stage, it did put a dampener on it. And then, of course, you're still trying to be professional in your job after, but we're human beings, and you care about dogs, you care about animals, and when you see them go lame, it's never nice to see. it is the horrible part of the sport, but unfortunately it happens. It happens in any sport. There'll be footballers who go out and innocuously snap their cruciate ligament with no one around them and stuff like that. So, I've done it twice, and, first one was a tackle, second one, no one around me. Picked the ball out of the air, controlled it, as my foot planted, my knee snapped again. My ligament snapped again. So it happens, and people break legs and people die on a football pitch. People die, it's part of life, and that hasn't happened with Dynamic Force. He's in a good place. We've seen a brilliant video of him, a lovely video of him. His cast, he was hopping around and tail still wagging, so he's in good spirits and he's in the best of hands. And Polly the vet had done a fantastic job. She does do a sterling job, every day, not just through the 6 weeks of the derby. She's there every ground meeting that they have and does a cracking job. And our ambulance is worth its weight in gold because it is a long way from the track to the paddock. So it's a brilliant initiative. I think Peter Harnden was behind it. So a really good initiative to get that. So it is, they're just there. They can get them straight on the ambulance, get them back to the paddock as quick as they can in the vet room and be treated. So yeah, it's never nice, but unfortunately it happens, and as we say, you still got to try and be professional after, because up until that, Danny, it was just an unbelievable night of racing, weren't it? The whole way through, the big final we had was just out of this world, and then that was a big dampener on it. But
yeah,
the dog's okay, which is the most important thing.
Of course it is. And if you want to hear from Polly the vet, by the way, it's episode 79. I was just having a look and seeing when she came on, because it's not obviously a time-stamped thing. It's just what Polly does and why she does it and how she got into it all. And it's a fascinating chat. Me and Gail, I think it was, that sat down with Polly. So do have a check out of that, because it was good. Now, talking of wow performances, the one wow for me. No, I'll tell a lie. Same dog, 2 wows. Can you guess who I'm going to talk about?
Ooh. Oh, you got me there.
Haven't I?
Give me a clue.
Beach.
Bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Vega.
Yeah. Yes, because the first one was when she dropped herself out, and I still will never know how she finished second behind Churchfield Sid. I'll never know. I thought she would well, actually, no, I didn't think she'd qualify. I thought she was going to run well in that race. I think I'd napped her on that night because I needed all the points I could get. But I think I'd napped her, and I was watching her and I was thinking, well, hopefully she qualifies. And then she finished like it an absolute train and finished second. And she only went down by, I don't even think it was 2 lengths in the end. It was unbelievable. And especially with Churchfield Sid, because he's such a rocket off the front. Great to see him parade as well, or lead out the Derby Plate on finals night, because that was sensational. But back to Vagar. She then steps up to the 7:12 and goes 19 spots off the clock and clocked a time of 15:59 for the split. And you look at Shadow Storm, who went unbeaten in the sprint competition. He did a 15:51 on the same night. How a staying bitch can do a 15:59 when she's still got to go over 6 bends and not tire and not do an average time after that, it blew my mind.
Yeah, we were kind of taken back by that performance, weren't we? It was something. We knew we were seeing something very special when they went down the far side, went past the sprint trap second time, and she was probably 15 lengths clear. Yeah. A good field, by the way. Brett and Molly, Ombe, Nutty, All Right Patricia, Deadly Disco, Hakakala. Now, they're not bad. That's a good field, and she absolutely ripped on a new one. From trap rise all the way around. She was 7-8 lengths clear after the sprint, and she was, when you look at the sectionals, she got 15:59. The closest to her was a 16:09 in Hakakala. So she's 50 spots. So what's that? That's 6 lengths, 6.25 lengths ahead of Hakakalo after half a lap. which is just insane what she's done. A very special bitch. She's the one who can put it down to Mongi's Wild over these 6 bend trips. It looks she's always going to lead him, isn't she? And
Looks like it.
It's what he can then do, and if he can catch up from the same kennels, they're in a strong position.
I know, but match race.
Oh, I don't know if they would. It'd be intriguing. It'd be interesting, but I'm not sure if they would. But yeah, she was very special, and I'm glad she won on final night because Mark was having, he had to pull out Vermithor, Mongi's Wild with a cough. His dogs up until her hadn't run too well. Kilmore ran okay in the plate final. He got beat. I think it was a short header ahead by Romeo Tomcat in the end. So he ran well. But, up until then, tabletoppers didn't really run well. Newing Cloud didn't really run well. And it was, has it affected a few more of them? But she'd done the business in the final. She went about her business properly and more professional in the final, 42.56. To back up what she's doing from the semis to that, Danny, is always tough. That can be a hell of a lot out of them. They put absolutely everything into that run to clock 42.21. So to do 42.56 when she didn't come away as well as she had been, in the past was a real professional performance from her, and she just looks very special going forward.
She does, and I can't wait to see what she does going forward. I think she's going to be one of those bitches of a lifetime, really. I think she's going to be phenomenal. One dog I do want to mention, of course, is our new track record holder, because, of course, I think most people would have thought it would have gone in the Derby, and it didn't, because Lenny's Desire, from out of nowhere, we know he's a fast dog, don't get me wrong, because he's a very fast dog. I spoke to Sarah Hennessy, actually. She found me on finals night before I went up to the show and said, look, thanks for all your comments on Dynamic Force and for editing the video so quickly, because we'd said to Ashley, get it down, edit it, get it back up there and make sure that it's not there for connection sticks. It's not nice. And for also everybody else to see. We don't need to see it. It's, we've watched the race once. We might have done a replay. That's fine. We don't want to see it again. And she thanked us for that. I don't actually know if I passed it on to you, Joe, so she said thank you. And but she also said, Desi, as he's called, he's had to come off injured, but he's set the track record. So she was like, great. And then they had a bitch in the Oaks over in Ireland who also did a hock as well. So they had a hell of a time on that Saturday night. They were just, up and down like a roller coaster, because you've got Lenny's Desire, just all the dogs that have just had a bit of a nightmare. So they've had a bit of a time of things, the Hennessy team. So I do hope that you're all okay, Hennessy team, because I know that you've had a bit of a time of things, but we pass our, condolences on to you with everybody that seems to have gone wrong in a couple, just lightning has struck too many times for them. I know they'll come back swinging, that's fine. But yeah, I thought Lenny's Desire, we've got to give a mention, because 28.39 was the time.
Yeah, we do want to get Paul back on the podcast. He was, of course, meant to come on, but he was stuck with a horse the other side of Ireland. So we intend to get Paul on, and it would be brilliant to have Paul on. But he was withdrawn in the final of the plate, and then he got beat at Shelbourne on the 21st of June in a race there. There was question marks around the semi-final. He broke the clock in the heats, and then there was question marks around himself and Romeo Tomcat. You put it on Danny, and rightly so, because when you slow it down and have a look, it's either or. It could be said that he was trying to get out and Tomcat was trying to get in, or and it was interesting. They did definitely come together. There weren't enough to do anything or mark awkward or whatever like that. There was a coming together, but it was interesting. And what, and I've always had my reservations about Romeo Tomcat, and I've said this to Patrick, I've said it to Dave and Cheryl. Just a little clock behind me there, just stepped in out of.
You look like, that picture when you've got the halo. You've looked like that for ages because it keeps popping up, looking like you've gone holy.
Sorry. And I've said to Dave, and I'm not sure on this dog. Probably the plate final just reassured that for me. Alongside Kilmore Dancer, of course, who has been marked awkward. So it was.
Yeah. So you look at those two when they're going at it together, and they're the two in the finish, and you just think someone's got to have it. But neither of them, in my opinion, I'm exactly the same. I don't think either of them necessarily wanted to go by, because in that race, if memory serves me, in that race, Romeo Tomcat, you just thought, it's all over. And then it's not all over.
Semis? Which one? The semi-final or the final?
When there's only a short head between them, because it was Kilmore Dancer and Romeo Tomcat, there wasn't that far. So I thought Romeo Tomcat coming with all that speed, he's going. And then it was like, he's not quite gone through with his effort. And then Kilmore Dancer's not quite gone through with his comeback. And they're not quite going through with it to the line. But then Romeo Tomcat's got the win. So you just think, well, at least he's got his nose down in front where it mattered. But yes, of course, there are slight question marks. And to be honest, I always quite like the quirky types anyway, because I think they offer the most fun in some Greyhound races. And that was certainly one of them.
They're very fast, Dani, as well. Like what you've seen Tomcat do to Lenny's Desire in that semi-final. Now, he was a length behind him and he's with him into the third. Now, this is a track record holder from the week before, so he ain't stopping in front, and this dog has got a lot of speed. And he led in the final, of course, and everyone's thinking, he's going to get on. And then Kilmore Dancer goes, no, you get here. I'm going to get after you. And it makes the 3 steps interesting with Kilmore Dancer if he gets through on Sunday and makes the final. He goes up that 6 bench trip. That will be interesting viewing. But it's... it was, again, just a brilliant race on a cracking final card, wasn't it? We had some great finishes and, they're quirky, but God, they can run.
That's the thing, isn't it? They're quirky, they can run, and we love them, and it's great fun. And I love it because it does spark that little bit of debate, a little bit of controversy as well, because everybody has their own opinion. That is the whole point of Greyhound racing, because everyone has a different opinion. And my highlights for finals night, I've got a couple. Romeo Empire, who did Barntic Bear's trick of the year before, steps up to 6 bends and absolutely bolts in. Shadow Storm, because what a start and a sprinting dog we've got on our hands with him. Iceman's Girl, because, well, I bloody love her. She's one of my favourites, and I think she's Bella in the kennels. And I know that Lacey was chuffed as anything because she clocked the fastest time as well on finals night. And I think I napped her in the first round because I thought she runs Toaster so well. She was second in the Emperor Stakes last year, and she runs Toaster so well. She's quite versatile type anyway, Iceman's Girl, and she's one of those bitches where I was gutted for her, really, because the Derby didn't come. It was a bit too soon because she'd just come out of season, and you just think, just a couple of weeks, a bit like you and your golf trip, just a couple of weeks later, Derby, and we might have had a different experience with Iceman's Girl, and Joe would have been there for the whole time. But she did manage to do the business, and you can see she's getting better again. She was second on her first try back. She's won the bitches comp, the bitches comp. So, she's getting better and better and better, and I just loved her. And then All Right Patricia for me in the Durando. It was the best bet on the card once Monge's Wild for me came out.
Yeah.
I think like Taylor's she's not running out of her skin at the moment. Eh?
She put her in a place at Romford Friday, didn't she? So, different tracks that suit different dogs, and Ballymat Taylor beat it comfortably there. And my highlight, Slick Sentinel, big consolation for Keith and the guys winning that. Was a good race as well, a really good buckle. March on Freddie being Keith for Maverick. I was sick because we was on Maverick at 5-1 and 90. He didn't really come away, and then he led. And then when I seen Freddie come out of the pack, I went, "Oh no, we're in trouble here." And he managed to pick him up. Where else was there? Shadow Storm was brilliant, as you said. And I thought that Romeo Steele was so impressive because he did not trap as well as he can.
No.
Like Keyfield Goose out-trapped him again, and this dog's early pace is just frightening. How fast he is. I was concerned with the draw. I would have preferred him to be drawn further away from Keyfield Goose that we seen in the semi-final when he was in 4, and he managed to really clear him into the bend comfortably. So being drawn in 2 with Goose in 1 was probably more of a hindrance to him. but his early pace was just brilliant. And I think it was 6 winners for Patrick in the end. He was a 6th winner. I think Dave have 4 winners, 3 or 4 winners? Dave Firmager as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Manuel Empire, Romeo,
Steel.
And sure he had 4. Romeo Ability, of course, won the Puppy Cup as well. So 4 winners for Dave, who's a close friend of our family. So pleased for him. And 6 winners for Patrick. But the most important one, Danny, was the Derby.
What's it called? Droopy's Plunge. I mean, what a race. It had everything, It had that little bit of trouble. It had a couple of dogs that started well, some that slightly missed it. The surprise potentially on the inside that's come through to win it, because you just think, Bocco's got out, Cheap Sandwiches. I'm trying to think now, because Bombay Pat got out. That was it. I think Bombay Pat has put the mockers on both Cheap Sandwiches and Bocco's Diamond. I think I said that on the night, because I was thinking, he's come out and they've both gone, huh? Because there's someone else in front of them.
But we knew he was capable of it, didn't we? And we were just waiting for it.
I was literally thinking, Joe's right, because he's been bigger than he has been, all these things. And I just thought, he's gone out and he's just going to go and win. I'm going to be fuming because I've got 2 anti-post bets and Joe has none, and I was going to win one of them. And I was just thinking, like, come on, one of you's got to win, or at least place, because, I had my Eat Train money anyway, but I do want the place as well. You just think, I want a win and a place. And I was just thinking, well, I've got no chance now, because Bombay Pat's come out and he's not going to be caught. And then there was that slight bit of trouble because Delardi-Dar and Soleil Mio have come out. Soleil Mio not quite as quick, but, there's that little bit of trouble around the first bend. Because when Delardi-Dar got out as well, I was like, come on, race on, here we go. Oh, no. First bend, and you just think, what's going to happen now? And the inside just opened up for Droopy's Plunge. He was always in with a chance.
Who do you reckon, Danny? Without looking now, I've got it in front of me. Who do you reckon clocked the fastest section in the final? Do you know?
In the final? No, I don't know. In the final, I'm going to say it probably wasn't Bombay Pat now.
So, I'll go from slowest to fastest for you, okay?
Oh, go on.
Soleil Mio 409.
Mm-hmm.
Cheap Sandwiches 408.
Yeah.
Delardi-Dar 407. 2 clock 405. Bombay Pat, Bocco's Diamond. The fastest sectional, Droopy's Plunge 403.
Now, like, I know the race because I'm like, but I know the finish more than I know the start.
Yeah. And he flew out of the boxes.
Yeah, he did.
And Daryl said it in these commentaries, got the break of his life, I think, along them terms. And he did. And just clocking that sectional, although he weren't going to lead then, just allowed him to turn in that position. Now, Bombay Pat led and finished last. He led to the third bend and would finish last in the end. Now, albeit there was only, I think, a length and a half, short head, half a length. What a final that is. Like, that is just brilliant, isn't it?
It's real, because you just think, quite a lot of finals, there's a lot of dogs that go into it heavily odds on. And certainly the Derby. But the Derby record of finals, I think it's one in the last now 14 favourites has won. And Bocco's Diamond, he was always going to go into it as favourite, because as long as he made the final, he was always going to be a favourite for it, regardless. So everybody else, in my mind, was always a bit of value anyway, regardless of what they priced up, because Bocco's Diamond was always going to take that big chunk out of the market. And you look at Droopy's Plunge's price, it was obscene in the semi-finals, 25-1 after the semis and before the draw. You just think, really? Yes, I know he's not won a race, but surely we should have learned from times gone by that does not matter. And usually is a bit of a good omen for me to at least run well, first or second. The amount of dogs that I've done or backed each way in the Derby final that have been 20s and above that haven't won a race, and they've snuck into second and third or whatever, and you're still getting paid out better than you do for the favourite. It's one of those things where I think they just conserve something throughout the 6 weeks if they don't go all out. And he did on finals night when it mattered. And I just remember thinking, off the final bend, he's there and everybody else is there to be shot at in front of him, because I was thinking, there's no dog that's quicker in a finish apart from Deladi Dar, and Deladi Dar's behind him.
They're going to catch him.
So he's not going to catch him from there. And I just thought, I was screaming from the balcony. If you heard me, I do apologise. You probably didn't, because the roar from the crowd was big enough that I was absolutely screaming and jumping up and down and being a lunatic on my own under my little gazebo, just like, it was amazing. Amazing.
Also, it's nice for the UK to get the trophy back. It's been away for, 3 years?
Too long.
Romeo Magico, Gaetan Nemo, Deladi Dar. Yeah, it's been away for 3 years, so to get it back, it's a nice feeling, especially when it was 5 against 1. 5 against 1 in the final. He was on his own trick, and he was up against the ropes, but he stood there, he took the punches, he took the blows, and he got him out when he needed to, and what a run.
You've always got to go for the underdog anyway, for me. I would always back against it. Even though I was wearing green sequins, I know. I won't do it again. But I just thought maybe, and I'd been Deladi Dar's champion, to be fair, or cheerleader, or whatever you want to say, throughout the comp. So I was a bit like, well, I'm hoping. I was also hoping he came second. But he didn't. He came third. It is what it is. Because then I'd have really been able to stick it to you, Joe.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, look, it's a special 6 weeks. We're glad it's over, probably for the rest, but we don't stop. We now move on. We get this out, then there's plans for stuff before Newcastle. And on the date of Newcastle, Dani, to give you a little stat, don't know whether you know, 24th of July.
Mm-hmm.
Greyhound Racing is 99 years old to that day.
My God. That's mental. Well, I won't be there to celebrate it, unfortunately, in Newcastle, because it's my little sister's birthday.
Our
family come. She'll be 15 going on 80. Honestly, she's brilliant, and she's funny, and she's just hilarious. But she's one of those people where, she doesn't like to follow trends. She doesn't understand sport. She thinks it's pretty cool what I do, but genuinely don't think she understands it at all. We've been horse racing in the past, and she backed a 33-1 winner. Obviously she can't bet, so we were putting him on for it. I kind of think she was picking stuff out. 33-1 winner on G-Board Day last year, picked it out of names, and you just think, oh, go away, like, come on now. So she put 10 on the 33-1 shot. I was like, Jesus Christ. So she doesn't get it. But yeah, she's 15 on that day. So I can't go because I've got to have forced family fun.
Have fun.
Can't wait. But no, I mean, thank you for everyone. So again, I want to extend my thanks to absolutely everybody that has supported Gone to the Dogs throughout the 6 weeks, because obviously without people watching, we don't have a show. Without Bet Goodwin, without Star Sports, we don't have a show. Without all the directors, producers, cameramen and women, graphics people, production manager Kate, Mike, got to give a shout out to Mike because he's put the money behind it, as well as Star Sports and Bet Goodwin for the shows over the 6 weeks. Without those people, we can't do what we love. We can't make our job. They make our job so easy. I've got Adrian in my ear. He's been our director for 6 weeks. And he's so calm, he's so cool. Even when things are going a little bit wrong and graphics aren't quite doing what they're doing, he's just like, just keep going. When Eric knocks the plants over, just keep going, it's fine. Don't get up. And I'm there stroking his little head thinking, please don't wee on the seat. Please don't cock your leg. Please don't squat down. That's all I can think, like, oh my God, please don't do any of these. Because I love dogs, but I don't want to have to get a poo bag out on live TV. There, I'm just saying. But yeah, we've got plenty of plans and we can't do it without you. So spread the word, please, if you haven't already done so. I know we had 10,000 on Derby final now. We know we can grow this sport more. We know we can get people hooked in, and hopefully we've got a bright, bright future, because I don't know about you, Joe. I am more hopeful now than I have been in years for our sport.
Yeah, we seem in a better place, a lot better place. The derbies help that, but now it is getting back to the real world. That's gone now. That 6 weeks of paradise is gone. We need to get back to the rest of it. It's a 24/7 operation that, runs even alongside the derby. There's plenty of tracks we're still running when Toaster's on for the derby. So yeah, we need to get back to the day-to-day operation of ground racing, but we seem in a better place with ground racing UK. There's a lot of plans in place, and we've got Wolverhampton opening soon, which hopefully be good for the sport. Not sure on the track. I must say I'm not a massive fan of the configuration of the track that I've seen, but it's a new track, and it hopefully will be well supported. So yeah, we need to keep pushing. Don't accept what we've done. Always strive to be better. We'll do that as a show. We speak a hell of a lot, Dani, about how we can improve things, and there's so many things that we've got in line, and day in the lives of us, and different things that people enjoy watching. People are going to see me as a football manager and the swearing and the horrible side to how I can be off a camera, because I'm going to have to be myself, of course. We're going to follow you around when you're going to get your nails done and having your whatever else. So
You're coming to the gym with me, mate. I'll put you through your paces.
fine, no problem at all. That's fine. Look forward to that. But kennel visits and stuff like that. So loads that we can look forward to. And again, well done to yourself for what was a small podcast into a brilliant production. So fair play. I tip my hat to you. I tip my clock to you, whoever it is.
You need to go forwards. I think that's how it happens. No, you're not holy anymore. Thanks, Joe. Thanks to everyone. And we will see you in a couple of weeks. We'll be telling everybody on social media what we're doing. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do make sure you do so, because then you don't miss a show, you don't miss what's coming up, and you don't miss a podcast either, because we do try and put those on as well. We'll be doing plenty more with the Toaster Studio. So just watch this space. We have got bigger and better plans to come. But of course, we'll be back here for the derby next year.